Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David. With me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Or the Darth of excuses, as we like to call him nowadays.
Darth Allergist.
God. Well, welcome back. We continuing our terrible run of being consistent.
Should have done the finale by now, probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had a lot going on. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. But yeah, I mean, we recorded our last episode, which would have been episode 4 of The Mandalorian, The Foundling. I don't know. I do get to points where, I do get a little tired of editing stuff. And this is terribly easy. It really is easy to do. But, I had gotten just busy weekends, really. And, I didn't even release that episode the following Monday that we recorded it. So
really?
Technically it was like a week late as well. So we're like throwing about 2 weeks between episodes roughly right now. But lot going on and so forth. It's been a pretty hectic, well, first half of the year, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. We keep saying it'll slow down. Maybe someday it will.
Maybe. But yeah, disclaimer, as we run through this.
As I cough.
Yeah, he might be coughing. I might be clearing my throat. I was, sort of mildly sick last weekend, and then now in the somewhat great state of Ohio, we've gotten all these air quality warnings and stuff. So it's constantly foggy, which somebody had said today that might have been due to some like wildfires or something like that.
Yeah, so it's in Canada. Blame Canada.
Well, I'm talking about coughing and hacking, and I just punched my mic, so there's mic noises going on. We're a mess.
An excuse to be jackasses the entire episode and bug everyone with loud noises.
Just terrible quality podcast. But yeah, no, I noticed it the other day. It was like Monday, I guess, when I was driving home. It was weird because like Monday, I don't know what it was. Driving in and driving home, there was like no traffic on the road. Mm-hmm. It's like everybody just took a long weekend or something. But when I was driving home, I was like, wow, it's really foggy. What the hell's going on? And then the next day, wow, it's really foggy.
Tuesday, I got to work. It's like, is it going to rain?
Yeah, well,
and then it just stayed that way all day.
And that's the thing. Nothing. Like Ashley's been asking me the past 2 days, is it going to rain? It's not supposed to rain, is it? It's like, no, it's just air quality. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. And obviously you have terrible allergies. I don't have great allergies either, but apparently a little bit better than yours.
I've never had a ton of allergy issues. Well, I shouldn't say never, but the last 7-year cycle where everything changes in your life, I've been pretty good with allergies. Apparently, I've hit a new 7 years, and I am a mess.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it was interesting. I saw some of the stuff from New York. They're getting it way, way worse than us, and a lot of people are joking like it looks like Fallout, the video game, outside as you walk out. It's like a yellowish haze everywhere. It could be worse. It definitely could be worse. But it was funny. We had a meeting inside today, and there was mention of the client potentially shutting down our site because of air quality.
Oh,
we walk outside, which the air quality index that they shoot for, anything over like 101, they shut it down. We were at 154 today.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So dang. I really don't know why we didn't shut down. Smoker's Law. I really don't know why we didn't shut down, but I'm kind of hoping we do tomorrow. I'm not going to lie. Working a lot of overtime this week. I could use a day to rest and forget that I have allergies.
No, that's fair. That's definitely
fair. Everyone walked outside like, is someone barbecuing? Like we all became more conscious of it after we heard of the air quality.
Yep, you always do.
I'm just like, I feel like I'm standing by someone smoking a really good cigar. But it's like, getting old quickly.
Smells super nice out here.
Triple Maduro. Oh, very nice.
Oh, boy. Yeah. That's the weather podcast. So anyway, let's preview our next podcast that we're gonna do, and let's talk about bourbon.
Bourbon. Yeah.
So
Absolutely hate all bourbon. It's terrible.
That's
it's garbage.
right. Well, we actually got to take a trip down to Kentucky over Memorial Day weekend. Went down to the Frankfurt area and went to four different distilleries. So we went to obviously Buffalo Trace. We did Bullet, Castle and Key, and Woodford Reserve. It's funny because like I actually wouldn't mind doing a sort of liquor related podcast. Now I would want a cooler setting for it. You know what I mean? But
that's one of the things I had talked about with starting another podcast.
I remember
talking about maybe having a bourbon every month or so that we review, a cigar, and just sitting and kind of talking about a wide variety of topics, whether that be politics, man-related stuff, just world stuff going on, just all kinds of different stuff. And I feel like a good cigar and a good glass of bourbon is a good starting point for that.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that at some point because I when I get into things, I usually get pretty hard into things, and I do a lot of research on stuff. I've been watching a couple of YouTubers that do talk about like bourbon that are very bourbon and whiskey centric. One of them was Bruzel. And I'm also that kind of guy that when I find a channel that I like, I don't really like to watch other channels.
Yeah, you get very biased towards it.
I do, and his content's interesting. I like when he does the videos where he actually goes to different places in different states and so forth, and like hunts for bourbon. So he'll go to different liquor stores and like get in the lotteries and all that stuff, and I find that to be mildly interesting. But I'm
the same way with Dry Creek Wrangler School with his
I've seen him
reviews.
too. Yep,
I love him.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was interesting going down there. We got in Saturday afternoonish and we went to Bullet. That's something that you've kind of been into here and there. I think Bullet's a great mixer. Makes a good standard old fashioned. It's good mixing bourbon. I actually like Bullet. I like Bullet's setup quite a bit. It was a little out of the way, but it had a nice little shop. It had a nice entryway with some barrels that people signed. It had a little bar area. We didn't drink when we were there, but it had a nice little bar area, nice seating area outside. So I kind of enjoyed that. The main thing is we were really planning this whole deal to get stuff for our wedding. And
our wedding, we're brothers. That'd be weird.
Yeah, that would be weird. Well, people are weird nowadays. No offense, but you're all weird. But the main focus was I wanted to get just standard Buffalo Trace for the wedding. And the idea is that because they do have buying restrictions, non-allocated stuff. So Buffalo Trace, Wheatley's vodka, the bourbon cream, the Sazerac rye, and then was there another one that was
Taylor?
No,
it wasn't.
I thought there was one other non-allocated thing that maybe that was it. So those are one per person per day. The allocated stuff, which the rotation right now is E.H. Taylor, Weller, Blanton's, and Eagle Rare, that's one per person every 90 days. So, Ashley she found this blog that tells you the day of what they're supposed to allocate and what the chances are for the next day. So we were looking at this because she wanted Blanton's, I wanted Eagle Rare. We got in Saturday and we weren't able to get anything allocated. The allocated was E.H. Taylor that day. But we got our Buffalo Trace. All four of us bought a bottle of Buffalo Trace each day. So we wound up with 12 bottles. We cracked one while we were there, and then you took home one. And then the next day we got there in a huge line, absolutely massive line.
Yeah, ridiculous. Like probably 300 plus people in front of us.
Probably. And there were more behind us. It was pretty wild. And the drop that day was Blanton's, and that's what Ashley really wanted. She wanted a bottle of Blanton's. And we got in, and I was sweating bullets. Got in, and as long as you're in that line,
ton left.
As long as you're in that line and you're not like 2 hours later than opening time, you will get something. At least that's what our experience was. So we were able to get our Blantons. That was very cool. Got to pick our little horsey.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we went to Castle and Key, which beautiful grounds, not great spirits in my opinion.
Yeah.
Great grilled cheese cart that was there. And they did make a good gin and tonic.
Because that probably moves around.
True enough.
Fine. Yeah, their gin and tonic was very good. Didn't like their gin.
Yeah, it was weird. And it was a pre-made draft cocktail.
Yep.
It was weird.
Which is also not something you see all that often with like a gin or a vodka.
No,
so
no.
That was interesting.
It was interesting.
Probably why we liked it, because it got to sit a little bit and mix
Probably.
up.
Little marination. And then we went to Woodford Reserve, which
pretentious hippie place.
It was my least favorite. Now the drink we got there was good.
Very boring.
The drink was good though.
Did you end up taking your little card home?
No, we had to drop in the basket.
You didn't drop yours.
I did too. Yes, I did.
You did drop yours?
I did
not see you drop yours.
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I anyway, it was pretentious. I didn't really care for it all that much. It was too clean.
I would compare it to walking into an Apple store.
Yes, exactly. It was too much. And I'll be honest with you, Woodford Reserve is not high on my list. And I know that there are some people that really like certain Woodfords. For me, it's just not my preference in bourbon. That's just me.
Yeah. Although I will say the guy that walked up to us, super nice guy, but you look at him, it's like, yeah, you totally drink Woodford. This is your bourbon.
Yeah. We were going to go to Four Roses after that, but it was a little late in the day. We didn't get to. And then Monday we were leaving, so we hit Buffalo Trace one more time, and we got the Eagle Rare. Yes. I was very happy about that.
Me too. We finally cracked that open.
Oh, did you crack it?
Few days ago to try it. Very impressed.
Is everything gone?
No, God no. No, I've shared with probably 5 people now, and we've been very conservative with that.
That's good.
They're all still in pretty good shape. I do like to flex and be like, yeah, the Blanton, the $200 bottle of Blanton, which was heavily discounted. I would not spend that much on a burnbourbon.
$63 at Buffalo Trace. Now, again, you got to get there during the day.
Price. Yeah,
you got to get there during the day, but it's a single barrel, and I know that there are people that don't. Actually, this is probably our first topic for that future podcast. Why do people hate Blantons? And I've come up with reasons why. And honestly, so much of it I think is just the allocation, the secondary market price, and the fact that most people don't really like single barrel bourbons. Because the fact is that every barrel could be different.
See, I kind of like that. Now, I will say that I really enjoyed the bottle I got. I thought it was 9-day difference from most bourbons I've had. Very smooth. No burn whatsoever, really. I just really appreciated it. I'm not a big fan of burn with my drinks.
Sure.
That's not what I'm looking for. Obviously, it's something you deal with any whiskey or bourbon. But I want it to be pretty smooth, and I'm willing to spend slightly more because of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like what I paid for Blanton's compared to other bourbons in the same price range, much higher quality product.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't broken into any of ours quite yet, but I know the Blantons that we tasted at Buffalo Trace was very good.
The thing we've probably had the most is that bourbon cream. We've made a couple of root beer and bourbons. Those were really good.
Their bourbon cream's really good.
Dad loves that.
Yeah.
Dad was like, "Ooh, that's tasty." It's like, yeah, Mr. Liquor 43, of course it is.
Well, that's something that we can get at Costco if he really likes it. You know,
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah.
Nice.
Apparently it's available at Costco. But I'll tell
Good
you
to
what,
know.
one of the bigger surprises, that Wheatley's vodka. That was
Yeah.
really good vodka.
Absolute best vodka I've ever had.
Straight up, no mixers, straight up. Probably one of the top vodkas that I can come up with. Very good.
I was anticipating a worse flavor when I tried that
Yeah.
than when I tried the rye, and I hate rye.
I love
don't
that
like
Sazerac.
vodka. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't necessarily claim to be a rye person either, but that Sazerac that they make is very good. I kind of got into it a little bit when I was in New Orleans, because like pretty much everywhere you go, they have a Sazerac cocktail, and
Yeah.
I tried maybe like 3 or 4 from different places, and there was only one that I really liked, which was at Arnon's when we were having dinner there. And the guy who made that was very tasty. But yeah, I mean, even straight up, that Sazerac rye was really good. So I don't have anything bad to say about Buffalo Trace whatsoever. That was easily my favorite stop, and I'd love to go, one day when we can book a tour. But we tried to do that, but they were booked 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, definitely. I love the brand. I love their layout, and it's definitely a place I'd like to go to, maybe every year or two.
Yeah.
We'll say one thing. The Bourbon Trail taught me how few bourbons actually work in an old fashioned.
Yeah.
Because we were not happy with most of our old fashions we got. The Woodford wasn't great. What was the other one we tried?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about what that was. I cannot remember.
But Bullet was like the only one that made a good old fashioned.
But Bullet's pretty neutral. I like a Buffalo Trace, just straight Buffalo Trace old fashioned. Yeah,
that was the one we made back in the Uber.
Yeah,
the Airbnb.
The Airbnb. Yeah, that's right. I did. I made everybody a nice little old fashioned. That was pretty good
with our very awkward mixing apparatus.
Yeah, it worked. It was fine.
It did.
But yeah, it was a good trip. We ate, we drank, drove around a lot, good scenery,
Yep.
And Airbnb was okay.
Yeah.
It was all right. Yeah. It wasn't bad.
Weird town. Very weird town.
Frankfurt, when we go again, I would probably prefer to stay in maybe Louisville or Lexington, maybe, as opposed to Frankfurt.
Interesting.
Frankfurt didn't impress me all that much. No offense, it was just it was dull.
Yeah,
it was a little
definitely
dull.
The town that everyone leaves to go on holiday excursions.
It seems like that. Yeah, it was really weird.
And they weren't used to having any tourists whatsoever. You definitely got weird looks when you were asking questions, what you'd suggest, and all that. So,
yeah, for sure, absolutely. But no, it was a fun weekend. The picture we took afterwards when we got back to the house and laid everything out, as we were kind of splitting it between, the two sides there, it was kind of comical how much we had, because I think we brought home, 12 bottles of Buffalo Trace, 3 Eagle Rares, I think 6 Blantons. Or was it 3 Blantons?
I don't think it was 6.
No, or 6. That's not what I meant. I meant to say 4, but if it was 3, there you go. 2 bourbon creams, 2 things of vodka, one handle and one smaller. The Sazerac. We had a bunch of mixers. Like both the ladies bought different mixers, and then Ashley had also bought that pre-mixed Buffalo Trace Manhattan thing, which wound up being really good. It was like a 33% deal. And then just a whole host of other stuff. We bought a box of bitters, and we bought quite a bit. It was kind of comical how much was actually purchased, and Dad
just shook his head when I showed him that picture. He was super proud of his alcoholic sons.
It's not about being alcoholics. It's about being prepared.
Yeah.
And the thing is and that goes back to the original point. Blanton's in the wild, if you can find it, is not cheap. Eagle Rare is the same thing. I mean, Eagle Rare's a 10-year whiskey. You know, it's a 10-year bourbon, man. I mean, it is what it is. Blanton's is what, 6 or 8, something like that, in that range. I don't really remember.
I was thinking 7, but yeah, maybe 8.
Yeah. But there's just, you know, there's a lot to be said about that kind of stuff. But anyway, just having it is nice. And, you know, eventually when we kind of get our house, you know, I'm going to build a bar.
Yep. Same here. That's the plan. So
yeah,
nothing else. It'll be a cool little display to have all those. I do want to eventually get the little, the wood piece for the little corks for the horses. I think that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, and I've been scoping out a couple of other things that I've kind of been, you know, researching and whatnot. A couple of other, you know, highly recommended bourbons and so forth. Some things that are actually available more often, and some things that are not. So that might be another venture we do one day. I don't know. We might just stop this and do something else. Who knows? We're just crazy about it. Boy.
We'd still probably end up talking about Star Wars an obnoxious amount. We get comments, they talk more about Star Wars on this podcast than they did the Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, boy. Well, anyway, so about 20 minutes in, how's your week been?
Well, as stated, terrible air quality, lots of overtime. Not amazing. Got a free grill, so that was kind of cool this week.
Ooh, free grill. Yeah, I had to buy a grill here recently.
Yeah, I've been shopping around, so I was very glad not to drop the $400 on that.
That's
really good neighbor. We're getting ready to move, obviously, and the neighbor's super bummed because I'm kind of his electrician and handyman. He's doing a lot of renovations on the house, and he just randomly hit me up the other day. He's like, "Hey, I still got a light fixture you could change," and I kind of felt bad, but he's like, "Well, I got this grill to entertain my kids, but since my kids never come around,
that's rough.
Oh, and now I'm leaving you too. I have to go and visit with him, and I picked up the grill. He's like, just invite me over for grill outs every once in a while. It's like, you got it.
Yeah, for sure.
You got it. But,
yeah, no, grills are expensive. I think we were probably near 500 for the Weber. We got a Weber grill, not a super huge one. I don't really appreciate super huge grills anymore. You know, the massive 4 burners. This is like a 2 burner. It's been fantastic. We've actually been using it quite a bit. Even did some sort of light meal prep on it this past Sunday. So we had, you know, a couple chickens, some pork chops, some burgers, and some brats. I just did them all on Sunday, and we've kind of been eating them throughout the week. So
nice.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind getting one of the little Weber grill smoker combo deals with a little like automatic feed pellets. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But
yeah, that'd be kind of neat.
But I don't want the huge one. I want like the second size up.
Yeah,
like I want to fit more than 2 steaks, but a pulled pork is all I really need.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So, yeah, not much on my end. It's just been mainly work.
Yeah.
So. Not much there. We're just gearing up to build the fence this weekend, and then following weekend is Father's Day.
Yep. So, looking forward to that. Getting to have some all-you-can-eat meat and a few other little things going on. So
going to Brazilian steakhouse. Something our dad randomly said, "Hey, you know, it'd be kind of cool, Brazilian steakhouse." Like, when the hell do you ever make suggestions?
Right. Do you even know what that is?
Do you know what that is?
Do you know what you're getting into?
Oh, boy. Yeah. You know what he should try? He should try to do like his Liquor 43, but add a little bit of that cream, make a cream soda.
Oh, yeah, no, I told him. Like, like, you might like these together. I might throw up if I try that, but you might like it.
So much sweetness.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough of that malarkey. I guess we can go ahead and talk some Star Wars here.
Yeah.
So we've got Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 5, the Chapter 21, The Pirate.
Yeah.
So we're kind of actually picking back up where we sort of left towards the beginning of the season on Navarre, and you know, Grief in his little town of like 100 people. Did you notice how little amount of people it seems to be for as big as this city's supposed to be?
Yeah, well, that could be have dark implications.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, they are being attacked by the pirates, Gorian Shard, not Shart, Shard, who is doing his piratey thing and just launching a bombardment from, well, not orbit, just atmospheric bombardment here. And, then we're actually kind of getting into some interesting stuff. I think it's interesting. This is probably where most people kind of checked out, is the Republic stuff. And, oh, by the way, tell them who showed up here in the bar.
Zeb.
Yeah.
Good old Zeb.
And look at the detail on Zeb. Zeb looks great.
I was so happy for how little time we get with him. How awesome he looks.
Yeah, what a random thing. I mean, it's great that they put him in here, but it's just you're just kind of like, oh, crap, it's Zeb.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, it was so jarring. It's like, I gotta look it up just to be safe.
I did too. I was like, is that another Lazada? It's not Zeb, right? Yeah, it is. It's Zeb. So that was a really neat
most
cameo.
somber Zeb ever, by the way.
Right.
Which is saying something for Zeb, but yeah.
Yep.
Definitely a lot of little references to Rebels, which I love. We get a few little peeks of what's to come. I'm sure you have some information that I'm going to be excited about. I'm hoping anyway, so.
I have information about what?
Well, you have watched the show.
Oh, you're talking about further down the line?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't get too excited. Anyway,
Okay.
So we do follow our Captain Carson Teva, as he is basically petitioning the New Republic for aid in the Outer Rim, specifically for Navarre, and he's shut down. And we also have
Delphi ain't having it.
Right. We also, by the way, Tim Meadows as Colonel Tuttle, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
He's
like right at the age where that mustache is really fitting for him too. I loved it.
Yeah. But we obviously have this kind of like overworked division. The captain brings in the message from Grief, basically just saying that, I need help. And Tuttle doesn't even get through the entire message. He stops it. Mm-hmm. We also, again, have Kane, or Katie O'Brien here, the Kane character, kind of butting in here a little bit. And basically the reminder is that they're not a member planet. They never signed a petition. They're not a part of the New Republic, so we can't help them because the New Republic can't even help itself.
Yep. Because the New Republic doesn't have the infrastructure to actually take care of, well, we hear it later on, not even the mid-rim.
Yep.
Let alone anything else.
Well, this is the problem, and this is what we've debated in like Legends and all this stuff. The New Republic sucks.
Yes.
It sucks.
The New Republic was, I shouldn't even say that. The Rebels were meant to do one thing. Unfortunately, they needed another source of government to take over for them once they liberated the galaxy. They did not need to do anything else.
Yep.
Because they only knew how to do one thing properly.
Oh, I've also been saying Navarre, by the way, Navarro. So
yeah.
Anyway. But we even get these pieces and parts even in last episode or the episode before that, or maybe we haven't got anyway, the shipyards where they're breaking down all these ships. And it's like, this is a direct thing with Mon Mothma effectively wanting to break down the military. And It's stupid. How do you render aid without some sort of, whatever you want to call it, alliance, coalition, or just a general military to provide aid? And this is the interesting dichotomy when people talk about like, well, why does the U.S. fund the military like it does? Because the military just doesn't fight wars. It does a lot more than fight war. It
We
also,
wouldn't have survived as long as we have if we didn't have a strong standing military.
well, people debate that, I'm sure, but I mean, the whole thing is there's a lot of humanitarian efforts. There's a lot of protection that we provide for other countries. I mean, my God, why are we still in Germany? We're still there. I mean, obvious reasons. We know why we're still in Germany. We know why we're in other places where we know why we're a part of NATO. We know why we're still in, the border between North Korea and South Korea. We know why these things happen. And because we know why, that's why we keep it,
Yeah.
and this is like, I understand that you don't want to fight. You don't want to have warships. You don't want to have all this warrior stuff. I understand. But when you're not dealing with a planet, you're dealing with a galaxy of different planets, and some need help. And the further out you get, the less helpful the Republic is, And
And unfortunately, the pirates are kind of a great example. This show doesn't paint Mon Mothma in a good light, just as most things don't, because it just adds to the absurdity of her wanting to demilitarize the New Republic. How do you deal with the pirates? They don't go away. They just expand.
Yeah.
And they're just as threatening as the Empire if you leave them alone long enough.
Yeah.
It might not be organized as well, but they're still a huge threat, and they're going to keep pushing towards your doorstep every day.
Yeah. And there are so many parallels to a lot of things we see, when you, we all want to be a polite society. We want to be
But what allows us to be a polite society? It's order, which is controlled by having
the First Order. Well, for me, it's just like and it sounds terrible, but because you shouldn't have to have a deterrent. But if you only give into pacifism, it's a great thing to be. It's a great idea. But in reality,
it's a great idea until people are involved with it. You can make the argument that socialism is an amazing idea until people become involved.
Oh, whoa, okay, comrade. I mean, geez, comrades, don't worry. He didn't just say that.
No, but the simple fact of the matter is it's the corruption of people that cause a lot of the issues. The idea that everyone gets guaranteed a certain standard of life is a great thought until people corrupt it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Mon Mothma saying, well, we've defeated the Empire. There's no other threats. We don't need to deal with this. This is a galaxy full of monsters.
It is.
You can't demilitarize just because of that. You don't get to negotiate with Rancor.
Yeah.
You kill them.
Yeah, it is too bad because you do need a strong representative government. And I mean, for me, you need to have that to get all the voices out there, but with the understanding that the more people are involved, the less you get done. However, having that still guarantees everyone a seat at the table. Now, that's what Palpatine was smacking down. He's like, you have your Senate, but I am the power. I'm the dictator. Mm-hmm. This is a puppet system.
I do believe he said he is the Senate.
Well, he is the Senate. That's true. But, without good guys out there who are enabled to fight back, it's God, I really just don't want this to turn this way, but that's why I'm not a fan of disarming citizens either. Yeah. It's why I'm not a fan of that. And this
shows a great example of why you shouldn't disarm the citizens, because the New Republic can't protect you.
Well, it's also a funny thing about Hollywood. Actors do go out there and villainize, law-abiding citizens who own firearms today. But yet every single movie or show that they do, what does everybody have? A gun, a blaster, a lightsaber, something to protect themselves with. Because we all fundamentally know that if you are a responsible citizen and you do the right thing, you should have the right to protect yourself. Now, how do we get to the point where we know that all the right people have the stuff? Impossible task, because you never know. My God, people, the best of people can turn out to be the worst of people. Look at, oh crap, forget it. Bill Cosby, for example. He was America's dad, and then he turns out with all that BS. You know what I mean?
Well,
Which
and unfortunately,
it just breaks your heart.
It does, and you can't even say that there's a possibility of having a system that would detect if someone is a good person, a good candidate to have something like a firearm, because people do change. Everything is always changing.
Yeah.
What's seemingly a good person this decade, next decade, life might have kicked them in the ass enough where, you know what? Maybe they're a little mentally unstable.
True.
Maybe they shouldn't have one anymore.
Very true.
It's not a system that can really ever be perfected.
No, it's true. But that's a whole political landmine thing, and I'm sure we can talk about that when we make our other podcast. A nice bourbon. But it is important.
And a triple Maduro.
Hey, yeah.
But it's mature.
It is important to point out, though, that like the constant demilitarization of the New Republic is a mistake.
Yes,
it's what led up to everything, and even when we get into the sequel movies, it was so easy for the First Order to sneak in. We even read that book, the what was it, the Collector one, the Force Collector or whatever that was called. I love that book because it details how First Order was just there. There were people living in the societies, and it's just like, oh yeah, Dad's just there to protect people and stuff and stop the bad guys. But in actuality, it was a lot worse than that. But you had no way to combat it. And when we got to the finale, you basically just have like nobody fighting. You have this little tiny resistance cell. Now everybody comes in the end, but you should have had all those people in the beginning. You had to put Lando out there to guilt trip people. You should have had a standing fleet that could have opposed the First Order fleet, but they didn't.
I always thought it was interesting how Leia was always set apart from the politics and kind of forced into a certain role. Obviously, in the original trilogy, she was kind of like the leading commander in a way, almost a silent commander of the army.
Well, she was a general.
Yeah. But you go from that to her being the literal leader of the resistance, and her way is the only one that works, unfortunately.
I'm telling you,
it's the only thing that works.
She should have been the chancellor
about it.
Mon Mothma should have stepped down like the relic she was and let Leia ascend up there and do what she was born to do, and they never did.
Well, the sad thing is it wasn't even because she was too cold, too calculating. Leia had a huge heart, arguably a bigger heart than Mon Mothma, I would say. And there's just no excuse for her to not have taken over that position.
Leia wasn't a politician, though.
Correct.
That, to me, that's the difference. She was not a politician, and politicians will always flock to politicians. She
wasn't a figurehead.
And they, nobody ever championed her. Everybody knew her in the public, but this was not a government ran by the public. They had representation, but those and we've even seen that in this, in this show a bit. Obviously, Andor was sort of set during the Empire, but just the grossness of the Coruscant upper class and how they didn't care who was in government, and the rebellion was only partially done. What they failed to understand, because some of their leaders were a part of that upper class, including Mon Mothma. It's like, I'm not trying to alienate these people. Maybe you should. Maybe the rebellion needed to run deeper, because the cancer was deeper. I'm not saying like start executing people, like the Spanish Inquisition style or going through French Revolutionary style, but like kick them off. Kick them off Coruscant. It's like, you go live here. You go figure out what you're doing. Keep your damn money and go somewhere else because your influence is done here. But it would have been a much different story if Leia would have actually ascended to where she should have been. But that's the tragedy, and that's what makes it realistic to me.
Yeah. Another thing, kind of getting into the politics of Star Wars, I know this is completely separate from what this episode's about, but like, think of how many representatives you really had per planet compared to how many representatives you'd have like per state for us.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous to think that one person could represent an entire planet's viewpoints.
Well, but they didn't have the Planetary Electoral College, so,
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on with the plot here a bit. So, Shard and his group are, bombarding the planet. The captain's message wasn't received, and he goes to the Mandalorians to ask for help, basically, because he's like, I can't do anything, but these people need help. And the Mandalorians, they go for it. They actually show up and they fight off the pirates. What did you think about the whole sort of like space battle stuff here?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was like anything amazing. I didn't feel like there was a ton of pushback.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I thought it was a bit one-sided, which I guess with the amount of people they really had to fight, it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they could have gone larger scale with this battle, with the time frame they had, which this episode was only
it was
42
like,
minutes.
Yeah, just over 40, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we could have made this an hour-long episode, I feel like, and kind of up the battle a little bit.
Personally for me, I actually like this, and I think that the Mandalorians should have had a somewhat easy time because they're warriors. But for me, I really do think that this is like the folly of these pirates and the syndicates and so forth. They don't necessarily meet with resistance out here. So when they actually are up against a formidable force, they're not going to win because they don't necessarily know how. And they're, pirates by trade aren't necessarily going to call their friends because they don't necessarily have friends. They're pirates. And there's a bit of hubris in there as well where, nobody stood up to me. So when somebody does, sometimes you balk at that a bit. And they were ill prepared for dealing with two ships and a group of Mandalorians, which is pretty, it's a testament to Mandalorians.
Yes, absolutely. I think we only lost, 2 Mandalorians in this fight?
I don't remember. I think a few of them were taken out maybe, but yeah, it was, like you said, it was pretty one-sided. Overall, but we had some fighting in the streets. We had the fighting in the air and so forth. Eventually we do take down the Corsair, as they like to call it. And I actually kind of liked the whole thing. It was pretty epic fashion.
Yeah. Also, I'm starting to really like the armor, which I don't know how I feel about that, but her little takedown was pretty awesome.
I feel like there's a huge change here because I feel like, and this is what I'm talking about. This is what I was trying to talk about as we were going in the beginning, because I had the same exact thoughts when we started this season. I was like, great cult stuff. But realistically, I think that the cult is starting to shift because they start to see hope for their people through basically Bo-Katan.
Mm-hmm.
And, even towards the end here, we get Bo taking her helmet off in front of all the Mandalorians because the armor's like, look, you walk your path, we're walking ours, but we're going to both walk it together.
We're all Mandalore.
Yeah, you have to walk the path the way you walk it. Don't walk it our way, because that's our way. It's not the way, it's our way. So I think that they kind of backed off a little off of this hardcore cult thing, keeping it internal, and then it's like, but realistically, we're all one tribe, so to speak, and we want to take back Mandalore. That's the ultimate goal. So I like where they're going with it. And I think you'll
Yeah, I
like
do
what we
too.
eventually get towards when we get to the end.
Yeah, I'm happy with that too. I like how Paz Vizsla can actually be an enjoyable character now.
Yeah.
'Cause I always liked Paz, but at the same time, you kind of didn't want to like him because of his rivalry
Yep.
with Din. But that's been patched up. They're becoming pretty good allies, I think, at this point. He's a beast, just a total powerhouse of a character.
There'll be
And
more with him. I think you'll enjoy the
good.
rest of the story with him in it. So for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was very nervous about the cult stuff, but I'm very happy with the direction we've gone. So
Yeah.
it is the best thing that can happen, which is another reason why I'm kind of surprised that I know, kind of looking forward that this season has been really poorly received, and I'm not seeing why so far.
So there's still a little bit more, but this episode had an 8.2 on it. And let me just check as we go along. Next episode is where things will get interesting, but the final two episodes still hold an 8.8 and an 8.5.
Okay, so
So
good. They've bounced up a little. Maybe I
yeah,
was just listening to a more negative side
it's
of the media.
it's because of the next episode, and then the
Is that the
convert.
Jack Black episode?
Yes. So
Okay.
that episode and then the convert, which was our doctor episode
Mm-hmm.
where we were totally away from the Mandalorians. Those two episodes really did ruin it for some people. And when we get to the end, I'll talk to you about why some people didn't like the ending as well, which is a little stupid in my opinion. But
Mm-hmm.
but no, just to wrap this up though, we get our talk between Bo and the armorer. We go forward and we have Grief ceding land to the Mandalorians on Navarro. So they have a permanent home here on Navarro. They don't have to go back to the cave. They can flourish right here until they go to start talking about actually taking Mandalore. So that's a good thing. They can kind of be among people again. This is where they were originally anyway, in the sewers. But that's pretty much the end of that story. And then we get a little tidbit at the end where we find a shuttle, an Imperial type. What is it? Lambda shuttle,
Yeah.
and have some dead bodies and some carbon scoring and some shots fired.
And a plate of Beskar.
Yeah. Well, we learn that Moff Gideon has escaped custody.
Yes. Yes, the fried chicken master has returned. And he's going to blow up some faces.
Oh boy. I felt this final scene was really ominous though, because you're just out in space, very little light, very horror movie-esque. I thought our captain was done for. I thought he was going to get blasted out of the sky.
Totally thought he was going to get killed on this one or captured.
Yeah, I was
the very first shot of the cruiser. It's like, ooh, active Empire cruiser, not good.
Yeah, I was
expecting some tractor
scared.
beam action there, or something going on. So yeah, very creepy scene. I like how they set that up.
Absolutely. That basically brings us to the end of the episode here. So
a very short, concise episode, not a lot of filler at all. But
true.
Still pretty full-bodied for the time we got.
I would agree. Anything else we need to talk about the episode? Are we ready for ratings?
I think we're ready.
All right. What's the rating and why?
Yeah, so again, just kind of reiterating, it's a well-paced episode. I like the direction we're going with the Mandalorians, specifically the cult stuff going on is starting to dwindle, shrink away, so I'm happy to see that. I'm beginning to really like the armorer and Paz Vizsla's character arc, so that's a good change. Bo's just clearly being set up to be the new leader, which is what we all wanted from the beginning. Obviously, Din is not going to be a leader. He can barely even use the dark saber, so he wouldn't be much of a leader, but Bo would. So, looking forward, if they go the direction I think they're going, I'm very excited to see next episode. We get a cool battle. Kind of wish it could have been a little longer, but I do agree with your sentiment that it should have been a pretty quick, decisive victory. So it was very satisfying, regardless.
Yeah,
and good episode all around. So, let's go with an 8.2 for this. Actually, no, 8.4. I'm gonna bump it up a little. Good episode.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much everything that we got was very good. It was concise. I like kind of the fighting aspect of it. I enjoyed the battle that we saw. Just getting away from the strict cult stuff was really nice. We're having a good connection between, the way and then just Mandalorians in general. It's going to set up for some other stuff here as we go along, but overall, I mean, it was a good tight episode. Very enjoyable to watch, and to the point, which sometimes we don't always get, really in anything nowadays. So I think I'm going to stick with my original rating that I came in with, and I'm just going to go a little bit higher and go 8.5 for this episode.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like most episodes we've been pretty even with our opinion of it. Pretty similar.
Yeah, fairly. I don't think we've even rated anything quite this high so far yet. So we've definitely been creeping up there. We'll see how high your score is next week. I'm telling you, I
have seen the infamous scene of it. So
people are not happy. They were definitely not happy about it. Can I state an unpopular opinion or potentially unpopular opinion?
I don't know. Should you save that for the Bourbon podcast or should you say it now?
No, I'll say it now. I'm a little bit over Jack Black.
Yeah, Jack Black has become very much a bit of a tool to me.
I don't want to go that hard on it. I'm not quite sure I ever found him like funny. I like some of like the Tenacious D stuff.
I like the movies and some of the really early stuff, but I don't know. I think he's lost his edge.
He has the same voice, that overdone voice in a lot of things. It just, I don't know. He's always Jack Black. There's really no range there as like an actor, but we'll see what we think about next week and kind of get to that.
More importantly, did you like Lizzo?
Oh boy, we'll play a bunch of Lizzo music, copyrighted Lizzo music next week, so we can get in the mood.
Yeah.
She actually is a talented musician, though.
She's got an amazing voice. I've watched some of the Tiny Desk performances and everything. She is a great singer.
And it's not just her voice, though. Like, she is actually a musician, too. And whoever's been producing her is really good as well. Because, like, the musicianship of her music is very tight. And it's very funk heavy, like 70s funk heavy, but like modern 70s funk type of deal. Those bass lines and instrumentation and
Bruno
stuff.
Mars went with the last couple albums.
Yeah, pretty much. She's definitely got a vibe. I don't necessarily know.
Something different,
It's different. Yeah.
Her message is different. Her music's different. I like Lizzo as an artist.
Yeah, as an artist, yeah, absolutely. I have no idea about anything past that. I'm not bumping her music, but I understand it. I think it certainly it is appealing musically, but is what it is. So anyway, folks, hopefully you enjoyed all that and you're going to subscribe to our Bourbon Cigar Politics Getting Canceled podcast. When we make that, we'll have to figure out a name and a logo and slap it up there someday, but we'll see.
I think canceled should be in the name of the podcast.
It'll just be called Canceled.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh, well. Well, anyway, folks, if you have anything to discuss or you want us to discuss on a future episode, you can always find us on the social media at TC Plan Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, or just go ahead and send us an email to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. Anything you might want us to discuss, we will try and do that. But I think that is about the end, so y'all have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force and the bad air quality be with you.